This episode is made possible by viewers like you. Click the link for more info.
Take this with a grain of salt. Try this stuff on your own. They have these things they call the man overboard drills or crew overboard recovery, and it's all these techniques you can use to get back to the person. How do you get the person back into the boat once you get up alongside them?
A coconut looks a lot like a human head and floats about the same as a human who is not wearing a PFD.
It's a cocoa butt. I'm gonna throw them in, see how long until we can't see it anymore. 3, 2, man overboard! I still see him. If there was even like 1 foot wave, we wouldn't be able to see him at all anymore.
3, 2, 1.
They go away pretty fast.
I was just thinking that. They do.
That's no time.
Wow.
In between swells, he's gone.
Yep.
And this is
calm today.
This is flat conditions.
Wow.
Holy shit. If somebody goes in the water, you've got seconds.
You do.
That was a sobering experience.
That was.
Eye-opening. Flip in. Stay on board.
Yeah, don't fall overboard.
Unless your wife's a bitch and you just can't take life anymore. This is a spin lock deck vest. This is my personal favorite PFD. It's a PFD and it's a harness all built into one. The main thing about this is its comfort. One of the best features on this thing is the crotch straps. A huge believer in crotch straps, having fallen in the water with PFDs before and had them float up around my face. Sometimes if you wear just a chest harness, you can actually slip through. People go, yeah, but crotch straps are so uncomfortable. My balls are so big and precious. It's bullshit. Look, there's this girl that I will say dated for a little while, and we had a mutual friend, and one day I called her up and I said, hey, what did the girl say about me? I wanted to know, like, how did I do? And she goes, oh yeah, she said you have big balls. Big balls? What do you mean I have big balls? Is that bad? She goes, yeah, no one likes big balls. And I was like, oh my God. So I went to my doctor, my primary care, who's another woman who I knew pretty well. And I said, are my balls, like, can I ask you a question? Are my balls big? And she goes, well, why? Are they changing? Do you notice lumps or something? You've seen lots of balls, you're a doctor. And she goes, your balls fit within the normal range of testicular size. My point is, if I can wear this, you can wear this. You know, and for the record, my balls are normal sized. Well designed, well built, extremely comfortable. Links will be down below. Spin lock deck vest PFD. My balls are normal. This stuff now is so comfortable and it's so easy to use and it's so affordable that I don't really see any disadvantage to wearing it. Maybe it takes 1 day to get used to it, but since after that you won't even notice it. But I promise you'll notice that you don't have it if you ever need it. Before we left on this voyage, Nicole was an elementary school teacher for part of the year. And then the rest of the year, she was an ocean lifeguard. The girl can swim. We decided to put her in the water and see what difference does it make when she's swimming without a PFD and with a PFD. On your mark, get set. You ready?
Yep.
On your mark, get set, go.
Side stroke was that worked the best. Backstroke was okay. Floating on your back, easiest.
Oh, so floating on your back with a PFD on is easier than swimming?
Yes.
Okay. The first recover we tried is to climb up a ladder. I don't know what to say. She climbed up the ladder. If the ladder is on the transom of the boat, if the ladder is on the back of the boat is often bashing up and down in waves. Is it better than no ladder? Yeah, definitely. But is it better than a side ladder? Not even close. One of the textbook ways to get a crew back on board again is to use a halyard. A halyard is a rope that pulls the sails up and down, but you can detach them from the sails, lower it down to the water, connect it to the crew, and then grind them back up again. If there's only two of you, the person in the water has to connect the halyard to whatever it is that's going to lift them out of the water. Maybe your PFD doesn't have a harness built into it. Well, in that case, you have to find a way, have it lift you.
You can wrap the halyard around your body and clip the end to the line, but that setup will get extremely tight as your weight causes the loop to cinch closed. One way to prevent that is to tie a knot about 3 or 4 feet from the end and clip to that instead of clipping to the line by itself. The easiest way of all is to tie a loop in the line before you throw it to the person in the water. All they have to do is pull it over their body and you're good to go.
Probably the gold standard, in my opinion, is this device called a life sling. It's basically a floating horseshoe collared device attached to a floating line that you throw in the water, and it's tied to the back of the boat. All you have to do is drive a circle around the person who's in the water, and they can grab onto the line, pull the horseshoe part to them, put it around themselves, and then that keeps them afloat. It lets them be attached to the boat so they're not going to drift away even further. It lets people in the boat pull them to the boat if the person in the water is injured or tired or too cold. And that horseshoe shaped device is really great to hook up a halyard or some kind of block and tackle to lift the person out of the water much more comfortably than if you were lifting them just with the line or just by their PFD alone. This is a block and tackle. What this does is it makes it easy to lift something that's heavy. If you have to pull somebody on board and you have time, the water's not too cold or the seas aren't too rough, and you have one of these already made, you can lower this down to the person and then it's pretty easy to get them on board. Some things to think about when you're hooking this up. If you hook it up to the end of your boom like we did here, as you start pulling on the person to bring them up, it acts like the main sheet. It tends to pull the boom towards the boat. So I recommend if you're going to do that, take the time to attach the preventer to your boom. It should already be pre-rigged if you're cruising offshore. And what that does, it helps hold your boom in place so that as you're pulling the person up, you're not also dragging them alongside the boat. If you don't have time to set up a preventer, or it's too difficult to do, or you don't know how or whatever, and you have time to set up a block and tackle, just do it and the boom will flop around, and it's better than not getting the person on board in the first place.
It was nice to have the leg straps on or cross straps on in the water because you could tell that the PFD wanted to float up, so it held it down.
Does this remind you of a penis?
That's a very small one.
That's why I got this PFD. It makes me feel better about myself. I have a friend who likes to sail alone a lot, and I asked him, do you wear a PFD? Do you wear tethers and harnesses? No. I don't do that. It's not comfortable. I don't want to wear that. And I go, well, what do you do? How do you deal with the possibility of falling overboard? And he says, no problem. I trail a line behind the boat, and if I fall overboard, I'll swim to the line and I'll pull myself back to the boat, climb on, no problem. We're gonna trail a line. Nicole's gonna simulate a person overboard with no PFD on, swimming to the line and see if she can pull herself back. What do you think? Is it gonna work?
Yes, I think so.
I don't think so. For this test, we're gonna go 5.6 knots. That's our average speed over the last 10,000 miles. And the autopilot will be driving, so we'll know that we're going dead straight. Very scientific. We're pros.
Hey, line is in the water.
3, 2, 1, go! Crew overboard! Crew overboard!
Ah!
Give it a shot!
I'm losing my bottom!
What do you think?
No go. That was a lot of force. That was really tough to pull yourself forward.
No way you'd be able to do that?
I don't think so. I mean, no.
What if we were going faster? Definitely no way?
No way.
Did your bottoms fall off?
Yeah, they were around my knees.
It's difficult to see where that person is in the water as you're approaching them if you're the one driving the boat and you have nobody else to spot for you from the deck. What do? Well, you can get close enough that you're still safely far enough away from the person and then reach them using another technique. So I'll show you some of those now. First, make sure that you don't become a casualty yourself. Definitely clip in if you're gonna try something like this. Our hard point on the bow for clipping in is far enough forward that I can still reach all the important stuff on the bow, but at that point it's tight, so it keeps me from falling forward if we smash into a wave. There's a way that you should coil the line so that when you throw it, it doesn't tangle up and end up in knots and not reach the person, and also so that the line doesn't have as many twists in it, so it's less likely to kink up. Now, some people coil just by doing continuous circles. This is not the best way to do that. This is putting twists into the line, and also the coils are relatively small, so that when I throw it, they're more likely to tangle up when the line's in the air. The better way to do this is to coil the line so that whenever it crosses your hand, it alternates. That time I crossed it coming towards me. Now I'm crossing going away from me. Now I'm crossing coming towards me. Now I'm crossing going away from me. What this does is it makes the coils much, much larger and less likely to tangle when you toss it away from you. It also puts a lot less twist into the line. The correct way to throw it is you begin by taking the coil and splitting it roughly 2/3, 1/3, or half, or whatever. The part that's the bitter end, the part that's not attached to the boat, will be the part that you throw first. Once it's underway, then you throw the other part. What this does is it makes it more likely that the line will play out without tangling or getting snagged, and therefore travel further and more likely to reach your victim. Okay, I'm gonna throw the rope. Rope! Everybody has a rope on their boat, but sometimes the ropes are stowed away somewhere and they kind of take a while to get to. And when you have a crew in the water, you want to be able to make contact with them as quickly as possible. One piece of equipment that you can get is a throw rope. They're inexpensive. You can get them at REIs, places like that. I'll put some links down below on places where you can buy throw ropes. The nice thing about a throw rope is it's small, it's compact, it's very easy to use, and it can be ready to go like that. We keep one of these near our companionway in the boat, so if somebody goes in the water, the other person can get close, grab this, and throw it out to the person without having to dig around looking for one of the bigger lines that's on the boat. To use this thing, all you have to do is quickly loosen it. Make sure that you're either holding on to the bitter end, the end of the line, or that it's attached to something. And then you just toss this bag over the person that's in the water. Whenever you throw a rope or a line to somebody in the water, you're not trying to throw it to them, you're trying to throw it past them. The goal is to throw it in such a way that the line will land more or less over their head or over their shoulder. That gives you a much more likelihood of reaching the person, and if you miss, it makes it much easier for them to get to the line. Okay, I'm gonna throw this right over you, okay? Rope! One nice thing about throw ropes is that usually the line is a floating line. If you're trying to get close to a person using the engine and you throw a regular rope on their boat, a regular line, oftentimes that line will sink and it's not uncommon to get it tangled up in your propeller. Floating line solves that problem. One way you can reach the person in the water is using a solid object like a boat hook. It's got some pros and cons. One of the benefits of it is that oftentimes you'll already have one on your boat, and it makes a relatively good way to reach. It's definitely better than reaching with your hand, which is probably the #1 way to have yourself go overboard as well. Be careful when you use a boat hook. It's pretty easy when the boat's moving around and bouncing to accidentally whack the person who's in the water, thus making the situation even worse. Another thing you have to watch out for when using a boat hook is that when you hand it to the person, you're balanced one way, but once they grab it and start pulling, now your balance changes. If you're pulling on the boat hook, you're not as stable on deck. So I recommend, if you're gonna use something like a boat hook, get down and get as stable as you can, so that way you're less likely to fall overboard as well. Okay, grab the hook. I gotcha. I was also surprised at how difficult it was to get Nicole back onto the boat, even though the conditions were dead calm. If you're at all tired, or the boat's moving, or your boat's slightly higher, or the person's heavier, or anything, I think it would be a significant challenge. I think
scary. Scary.
I think people put too much emphasis on how do you get somebody back on the boat, when I think much more emphasis should be placed on how do you prevent yourself going over in the first place.
Excuse the sweat. It's like 90 degrees in the cabin.
My wife is hot. You guys left a ton of great comments, especially in the last few videos. Some really cool information that was shared, some good stories. If you've tried any of these methods yourself, or if you have any that we didn't show in the video that work for you, please share them below in the comments. If there's any that you've wondered about that we didn't cover and you wondered if they work, leave it below. Maybe we'll try it. If the water's really cold, then do you have to worry about the PF? Why are you laughing?
Go ahead.
if the
Please
water
continue.
If the water's really cold, do you have to worry about? Because they're inflatable, you know.
Yes, my love. I worry about what?
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, of course you did. Okay, bye.
Over and out. We get cocoa butt.